I just made my first 1-bit pixel art. 1-bit is where you use one color for your sprites and another color for your backgrounds and stuff. It's for a contest that's going on right now, the Nokia Art Jam 2. The idea is to make an image at the resolution of the Nokia 3410, and there's an optional theme to base it on a lost game for that phone. Obviously, that's what I did. So I'm gonna walk you guys through how I found out about this contest, my process for learning 1-bit pixel art, and then I'll show you the final mock-up image of the game at the end. Let's get to spriting. Hey guys, I'm Andrew. Back in 2005 or so, I did not have a cell phone. I was 15 years old and I was behind on technology pretty much my entire life, and I just didn't see the point in it. Didn't have YouTube back then. But then one day at school, they were having this assembly and giving away random free prizes to random students, and I won a cell phone. I won a Nokia something, I don't know what it was. It was probably like a $15 thing, but still, that would not fly today. Now I'm finally caught up. I'm actually filming this video on my cell phone right now. Isn't that weird? We live in the future. So I haven't had much reason to think about my Nokia until, well, now, really. Brandon James Greer is another pixel artist here on YouTube. He's basically like my Bob Ross. I have watched literally every single one of his videos. He's super good, so go check him out. He did a video on the Nokia Art Jam, which is where I got this idea. Link in the somewhere. Keeping in mind, I wanted to create a lost game for the phone. The first step was looking at the not lost games in a little process I like to call reference gathering. There were a few games for this phone, including Monkey Key's Castle, Bumper, Space Impact, and Link 5. I'm gonna be real with y'all, I don't remember any of these. All I remember is Snake, which was apparently Snake 2. You'd play as a snake, eating these little dots on the screen, and your body would get one block longer with every dot that you ate. The goal was just to stay alive as long as you could until you accidentally bit yourself and died. It was a great game. So really, I just wanted to make Snake 3, which it turns out that already existed. But it did have higher resolution graphics, so that actually let me know that all those little dots you're eating, yeah, they're not dots. Those are apples. Before diving in, I like to start with a process called concept art. First, I just sketched out a snake and an apple, but that was really just to get the brain operating. Maybe the snake got so good at growing that it never stopped, so it went on a monster rampage through the city, but that really wasn't working for me. But drawing the helicopter made me think back to the apples, so maybe this is an apple revenge story? The first shot at that was a gun-toting apple, and then I thought maybe it'd be better with a sword. That still didn't sit right with me, but it did lead to the actual concept. It's a worm in an apple, defending itself from an onslaught of baddies. You could press different buttons to attack as the snakes got closer, and that'd be the whole game. I made the health meter some apples, and I made the score 3,410 in honor of the phone itself. Once I had a solid concept, it was pixel time. I imported my sketch into Pixaki, set it as a reference layer, and made it a little transparent. That way I could tell what lines were the original drawing and what lines were my new pixels. My plan for mastering 1-bit pixel art started out with outlining everything. I decided to call this guy Wormy because I only have so much creative energy. I wasn't sure what Wormy's weapon would be at first. I thought it'd be cool for him to have a toothpick since worms are, small, but I didn't think it would be readable at that size. Instead, I made a sword because swords are cool and I think it's funny to see cute animals with big weapons. The idea is that he's got his head poking out of one part of the apple and his tail is poking out of the other section to hold the sword. Getting the apple into the shape of an apple was a little more challenging than I thought it would be. They're not perfectly round, so it was a bit of a struggle to get it curved properly. Wormy was a little distracting, so I cut him onto his own layer and focused on the apple. That's something I do a lot. Pretty much anytime I need to focus on something, or if I want to back up my progress on a certain section, I'll just duplicate that onto a new layer. I counted, and for this piece, I ended up with 47 layers, which is a lot. Back to Wormy, specifically his face. I'm a big fan of big googly cartoon eyes, so I threw those in for some personality, and I gave him some wicked eyebrows so he looks like he could really fend off a snake. But he can't be too good because he needs to be able to take damage, hence the little health apple meter thing. At first, I thought you'd have a bite taken out of the apple to show you were damaged, and then they just disappear on the second hit. But then I thought it would be funnier if the apples turned into cores when depleted. So I drew that on the second apple, swapped them around, and now it looks like you lost one apple already and half of another. Snake attack! Like the apple, the snake is real curvy. In pixel art, the biggest challenge with curves is avoiding jaggies. Jaggies are sections of curved lines that don't quite curve properly. It's a unique challenge in this medium. In my piece, the problem is the slope of this curved section goes from a perfect 45-degree single pixel slope into 2 pixels straight down, then back to 1, and another 2 and another 1. I fixed this section by swapping it out, going from a 1 pixel slope into 2 sections of 2 pixel slopes. It's not perfect because pixels are by definition squares, but this is a big improvement. In my drawing, the big snake has some little snakes sneaking up behind Wormy, but I wanted some variety, so instead it's spider time. I immediately decided that, unlike worms, spiders don't have cartoony faces. Maybe in this universe, arachnids are more animalistic than whatever worms are. Not gonna lie, this is one of those times where I hated everything because it wasn't coming together at all. I thought drawing a Black Widow symbol on it might make it more obvious that it was a spider, but like, let's be real, this spider is crap. So I did what I do best. I looked for other stuff to do. I started with shading the apple. I used a technique called dithering, where you use multiple individual dots to gradually change between colors. I'll say that Pixaki does have a dithering tool. It's one of the settings on the pen. The most similar dithering effect I've done before is on this Lucky Charms image, where you can see it on the pot of cereal and on the mountains in the back. With that image, I had more colors to work with, so it was more of a struggle for me with solid black and white. I also tried to do a rim light. Rim lighting is when there's a backlight behind an object or a character to give a little glow behind them. Spoilers, I decide by the end of it that the rim light is real distracting from the dithering, so don't get too attached. With the apple shaded, Wormy was really lacking texture, so I gave him some stripy segments. I really like how that turned out. I also took out his eyebrows, but that was a big dumb mistake, and they will come back later. But for now, let's make this look like a video game with ground. In an 8x8 area, I drew in a wave for a grass layer, then copied and pasted that in a repeating pattern. It's a simple start that needs some more detail. Later, I'll add in some rocks and copy that over with the same method. Compositionally, this piece is pretty much done. But on a technical level, there's still a long way to go. The snake is pretty hideous, the spider is definitely hideous, you need some details on the ground and a score. But because I've really already discussed all of the methods and techniques used in this one, we're gonna finish this out with a montage. And that's it! Snake 4, Wormy's Survival Quest for Revengeance. Working title. Overall, I thought this was a good exercise. 1-bit pixel art provides some new challenges I hadn't really faced before, especially because you have to focus on how you're shading and adding shadows and highlights. Have any of you out there ever tried 1-bit pixel art? If so, what'd you think? Or are you gonna try it out sometime? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along for more pixel practice. Compositionally, this peach